Three, two, one, ghost. Hey, everybody. Welcome to 321 Ghost. I'm Kyle, your host with a silent G, as always. And okay, so I've got some bad news, but don't worry, I've got some good news. Uh Natalie got hit by a truck. And I don't know what was going on. I think there was a kite. She was chasing after it. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. I was barbecuing. I looked over. It was a mess, y'all. But I did what I could. And check this out. Just after a little mysticism, little bit of cursed burial ground, just threw her in there, just slapped her in with a trash bag, just slapped that with a shovel, and then just went home, drank a couple buds with my buds, and lo and behold, the next day, here you are. My co-host. Hey Natalie, how are you feeling?
I'm back, feeling good.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, $1 million. Little grayish green in tone. Y'all can't see it, but just uh, normally have like an olive tone, but now it's actually like more of like a swamp green. I think it works though. I think I can pull it off.
Yeah, somebody told me a good spot to put you, and they were like, they warned me ahead of time, saying like, when she comes back, she's going to be a little ornery, a little cantankerous, a little angry, if you will. And I was like, I don't think anyone's going to tell.
I don't
I
think
think
anyone would be able to tell the difference.
let's just try it out. Let's just figure it out. So, hey everybody, welcome to 321 Ghost. Um, you know, it depends who you ask if this movie is a classic because the reviews going back to it, the reviews are worse than I remember. Um,
Same,
because I always
same.
think of this movie as being kind of a classic. Hey, y'all, we're talking about the 1989 Stephen King adaptation, Pet Sematary. Um, what, what was it? Do you remember the first time you watched this movie?
I don't remember the first time I watched this movie, but I do remember watching it as a kid. And again, I feel like I had an edited for television version of it, but I've seen it many times since then. To your point, I remember this movie as a classic, and every now and then I go back and watch it, and I'm like, oh, this is like really, really over the top cheesy 80s. Like the music, the acting, the reactions to things. I don't know that Stephen King is known for camp, but it feels very like looking at the way that they react to things and how they deliver lines, it feels very campy to me. So I enjoyed watching it tonight. I just watched it and I was laughing a lot. So I got a lot of good laughs out of it, which maybe isn't the intention of the movie, but I had a really fun time watching it.
Well, shit, now my face is red because I was talking. I was like, this movie is pretty spooky. And has some kind of affecting parts here.
And
And
I'm just like just sitting there laughing. Child death.
oh, you're like, we all thought you were crying, but actually you were laughing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I remember watching, I guess I watched that adaptation, the earlier one, the one with best pal Seth Green. And
Made
that
the
one
made for
is,
television.
and I thought that one maybe just because it was made for television, I was like, that one's pretty corny too.
Oh yeah, for
So
sure.
I think we're just anything from 85 to 95 is just gonna,
Hmm.
I don't know, just kind of be, I don't know.
Well, I didn't realize that Stephen King wrote the screenplay for this. I mean, I
Yeah.
knew he wrote the book, but I didn't know that he wrote the screenplay. So that kind of was interesting to me because I've always wanted to read this book because I feel like the meat of the story is really strong and it can be like a really, really good story. I feel like reading it actually would be better. Whereas they kind of missed the mark on like what could be really serious and sad feels I guess it lands in a funny way to me and I feels like you had a different experience watching it. But I'm gonna say this right off the bat, just for anyone listening. I don't do this. I don't typically do this, but I'm gonna give a trigger warning for this one. It's not because of the child death, it's because of how I'm going to talk about child death and grief and these people's reactions to things. Like, I need to make it very clear that I'm a mother. I hate children in horror movies. I don't even really like children in real life. I like my child. I think I've said this before, but kids in horror movies tend to ruin everything. So I often root against them. So I just want to give everyone a warning that like there's some heavy shit in this, like parents losing their children, and I am definitely going to make fun of it. So if you're not down for that, you can leave now. I know Kyle would be like, no, keep listening. But I just need to make sure everyone knows, like I'm gonna be very callous about this situation. So I had to throw that out there.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the suicide.
Like, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. Um,
There's a lot. There's a lot of terrible things going on in this movie. So if you've
yeah.
watched it, like you should be able to listen to us talk about it. But yeah, just had to cover my bases.
So Stephen King wrote the screenplay based off his book. So as far as the plot details, it's mostly all generally similar. I think with one of the slight changes being, just maybe off the top of my head, the a death that does not occur. Well, actually, no. Yeah, a death that does not occur at the end of the book. Do you want to just spoil it now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so basically, Rachel doesn't kill Lewis at the end of the book.
Oh, okay.
She just shows up, and the last part is like, he's back at home after burying her, and then
Mm-hmm.
she shows up behind him, puts her hand on his shoulder, and says, "Hello, darling," and then that's the end of the
Mm,
book.
okay.
So like, you don't
I mean,
know
it's
what
implied.
happened, but I'd be like, if I were Rachel, fucking either way, I'd fucking cut that fucker up.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, whether I'm a brain hungry zombie or an angry wife, like you're getting killed, Lewis. You're
yeah.
absolutely getting killed.
Kind of like Reanimator, another example of dudes who just don't know when to fucking stop. Dudes in the medical field that don't know when to
Yeah.
just fucking stop and need to be more honest with their partners.
Mm,
Even though Jesus,
she's
she
the
had her own
worst.
fucking wild secrets of her own. God damn.
She's the
Um,
worst too. This whole family is the worst.
it's pretty rough. So, this movie is directed by Mary Lambert,
Mhm.
who has a pretty eclectic history, mostly coming from. This is also for. I'm sorry if you already know this, but I'm talking to the audience, greater audience here. A lot of background in music videos, particularly a couple Janet Jackson videos, including "Nasty," and then a
Oh, so
lot,
good.
of Madonna videos, like like Borderline, Like a Virgin, Material Girl, Like a
Also
Prayer.
good.
Directed
Some of the best.
all like I mean,
Yeah,
if I were to tell
bangers.
you her
Bangers and great videos.
top five videos, I'm sure all four of those would be on there, right?
Like a prayer? Come on.
Oh yeah. So and a couple, side little steps into horror. One that you probably made, well, you and your son are more shark people, so you probably didn't watch Mega Python versus Gatoroid, correct?
No, I did not allow him to watch that, is what happened. He was
That
down for like
specifically?
anything versus anything. Like we've been through all of them on Amazon. I was like, nope, that's going to be absolute trash. We're not watching it. Sharknado is where I drew the line. Like we went through all of those and we're good.
Yeah. And also directed a entry in the Urban Legend franchise,
Shut the
Urban
front door,
Legends
not the third one.
Bloody Mary.
God
Yeah,
damn it.
I know.
Yeah.
So,
She also had Shining Veil on there too. I
oh,
don't know if you
really? Good
noticed
for
that.
her.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Also, I think I brought this up in another episode, or maybe I just talk about Wayne's World a lot. But
That's fair.
Wayne's World, that's also directed by a woman, Penelope Spheris, who also had a background in directing a lot of like rock documentaries and I think some music videos as well. Um, in an early scene of the film in Wayne's room, there is a Pet Cemetery poster, and that was
Mm.
to honor at the time, I think the highest grossing movie by a female director, which was Pet Cemetery.
Wow.
So hello. So pretty cool shout out there. So next time you watch Wayne's
Yeah.
World, you can lean over to whoever you dragged to watch Wayne's World and say, actually, did you know this and this and this? And then I don't know. So that's pretty fun, right?
That is fun.
This cast, I well, first and foremost, I feel like I gotta throw out. Can I? Can I give out an industry legend award? I feel like it's been a
Uh,
minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I know where this is going.
Well, I'm going to start at the top and just give Fred Gwynn our industry legend award. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, first of
Mm-hmm.
all, Herman
Absolutely.
Munster, of
Yeah, no
course.
shit.
And then
He's so
also,
good.
yeah, just between these two performances alone, and I don't know like exactly what he's got going on and what this like this kind of choice with the accent and the dialect is with
Where is he from? What
both him
time?
and Missy. This is supposed to be
Yeah.
like Maine,
No, I
like
know. He sounds like an old-timey news reporter. I love it. I think that was a great creative choice. I love him so much. And his character is interesting and I have a lot to say about him, but yeah, he's so great. I could watch him in anything. So definitely industry legend.
definitely. Then you got Dale Midkiff as Lewis, Denise Crosby as Rachel, and then as the kids, Ellie and Gage. You have Blaze Birdall and Miko Hughes. And now, one thing that was just startling and just upsetting to me about this movie, Miko Hughes he has been in a couple horror adjacent things
Mm-hmm.
too,
Mm-hmm.
by the way. Now I kept getting this kid confused with the kid from the son from Hook, but a bunch of kids
Oh,
all just look that
interesting.
fucking way. But I was
Yeah.
like, where have I seen this kid before? I know his face. I
He's
know his face.
Dylan.
He's Dylan from New
Mm-hmm.
Nightmare. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I think he shows up in, ugh, I don't know, when's the last time you watched that Spawn movie from the mid 90s with,
Oh, I have not watched that since the mid 90s.
yeah, with John Leguizamo. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
bad. He's in that as well.
And he's in
So,
Kindergarten Cop.
yes, he is.
I had seen that on his IMDb, but I also knew that because I had recently watched it with my son.
That's,
Because they were like, you have to watch Kindergarten Cop. I forgot how fucking ridiculous that movie is.
Kindergarten Cop is where I learned to never trust a man with a ponytail. It's never going to happen. Sorry,
Oh, I love
bro.
it.
You're a goddamn terrorist trying to abduct my kindergarten class. So get the fuck out. Um, so this kid this is the first thing that terrified me about this fucking child is I swear to God, it's something in his eyes. Whenever I just like look maybe like a little too long into his eyes, this kid's just a mischievous little fuck for however old he was when this movie came out. And I swear to God, I look into the eyes of that child and I'm like, nope, that is an adult and a child, baby. That
Um,
is that is an
I feel
adult having adult thoughts, adult mischievous thoughts inside a child's body, and I am not having it.
I feel the same way, but on the like other end of things. Number one, he's fucking adorable. I think he's such a cute little baby, but he is acting the fuck out of this. He's the best actor in this movie. Like
Maybe
his
that's what
little
it is.
his little evil face, like that's the thing. I think that's what makes him scary is that I'm like I'm buying this shit. Like I know that he's not delivering those lines like when they're on the phone and all that. Like
Mhm.
that's not the child actor. You could tell the difference in the voice. And also I don't think he really has any speaking lines when he's alive. But yeah, like even like when he puts the syringe into his neck, like his reaction, like I know that they also like probably dub sound over for that too, but his facial expression, like I'm like, damn, that kid is acting the shit out of this movie. So I think he's great, but very creepy. I agree.
Very terrifying. Um, Let me ask you. I mean, I know my answer.
Okay.
Actually, no, let me back up. Let me ask a couple questions first. Let me set the tune. So what have you ever visited a pet cemetery before?
No, never seen one. Well, okay. There's a gray area here. It wasn't an official pet cemetery, but oh my gosh, hopefully my grandma never listens to this. So our house in New Jersey growing up, we had a lot of animals. Like there was a rotation of 5 dogs at a time. Like we always had at least like 5 dogs, couple cats, horses, goats, chickens, all the things, right? And so when these animals died, this was, I think, before vets were like cremating them. She would put them in a plastic bag and bury them on the side of the yard. So whoever bought
Oh
that
no.
house after us, there's probably like a row of like 20 dogs along that fence. Terrifying, but she wouldn't mark their graves or anything. She would just bury them, and that was like their little graveyard. So God, I hope Vinny is listening to this and he's gonna be like, what the fuck? Is that true? It's true. So I
That's
guess
terrifying.
I knew they were all there, so I would like pay my respects to them if I was feeling sad or I missed them. You know, it closest thing to a pet cemetery. How about you?
I wasn't sure if that's terrifying, by the way. I wasn't sure if like I'm just growing up. This is the majority of my childhood in California. I was like, are pet cemeteries or just like random burials like just legal in California? I would think between
I don't
just
think so.
the the sand dunes and the hard rock and just living on a fault line, I'm like, I would just afraid they just pop up on their own anyway. But at least I'm aware that there are some like privatized pet cemeteries where you can purchase a plot for your
Yeah.
animal. And then, and honestly, I don't even know how true this. I mean, it must be. I saw it in the episode of Nathan for You, and so it probably exists. And
I would bet it does. Not everyone wants their pet to be cremated. I know a lot of people who have their pets' remains and have them like in like a beautiful wooden box. It's very
yeah,
expensive to do that. Um, but there's something about burying the dead in the earth that feels right to me. Like it's like going back to the earth, like feels, I don't know, it just feels right rather than turning into ashes. I guess, your preference, but
hmm
for animals even like I don't know, I just think about like who's cremating them, like how are they treated on their way, like they're just kind of like tossing them in there. So I
Do you
like the
want to
idea of
know?
having more control. No, I wouldn't want to know. Like
Okay,
I'd
because I
rather
can
have.
tell you.
Oh my god, no, don't tell me. Don't tell anyone,
Okay,
no one wants to know.
okay. Well, it basically it depends what you pay for.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and also I don't think it's legal, but I've seen it before. But like I've heard of people who will get their pet cremated
Mhm.
and then their ashes mixed with tattoo ink.
Oh,
And then someone will get like a tattoo, like with their dog's ashes.
is that safe? Do we know that like you wouldn't get an infection from that?
I, I think that's why it's not like particularly like super legal everywhere, is because I don't know the science of that or
Yeah, that
how
feels
that would work out.
risky.
Yeah. I mean, would I still do it? Maybe. Probably.
I think you
Hmm.
should, and then we can see how that goes for you.
I mean, ideally, I would just become part my dog, and then we just, and then she can be like a little ghost that just pops up on my shoulder and just,
That's the dream, really.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, this movie opens on this graveyard, a pretty spooky ass graveyard that the
Yeah.
children put together because this road and these trucks, like, I mean, it's comical
It's
how
comical.
fucking
Like, I feel like the police would get involved after so many like animal deaths and like
people
person,
deaths.
like people deaths. Like people are dying. Like you should have a cop on that fucking route.
I was waiting for the story, like when Judd's talking about Bill Blakerman and his son,
Hmm.
and he was like, "Yeah, he died, at the back end of World War II," and it was like, "Oh, by one of the Germans," and he's like, "No, a truck, fucking truck hit him." Because how often does this happen, and how small of a town is this that you have to be creeping into at least 5 to 10% of all deaths in this town are truck related, and we're not even counting the animals. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and when
Well,
you see the trucks, they're just like comically, like you'll see them, they'll just stop on their fucking gas pedals
yeah.
and just go as fast as they humanly can. It's
I
funny.
mean, it seems like, they're just moving into this house, obviously, they're moving in. Like when you were shopping for houses, did you not notice that there were these giant trucks coming by really fast, like every 5 minutes? You have a pet who's an indoor outdoor cat, and you have two small children. One that's too young to realize how dangerous the road is. The other one's old enough to know better, but like that seems never. I wouldn't even buy a house with a pool if I had a toddler that age. I'd be like, fuck around and find out. No, thank you. Absolutely not.
That's fair. My dog is, well, I have two dogs, and one of them is 10 years old, and she still just it feels just compelled to only walk in the street when there's cars coming. Like that's the like she'll pull towards me, and maybe I don't know, maybe it's a sad like, what does that say?
Oh
But
God.
I know, but don't
Living with you
worry.
for 10 years.
I know she's sitting right here with me for this episode. I love you, Lily. And I would, spoiler alert, I would absolutely
You put her
bring
in the
her
pet
back.
cemetery?
Oh, absolutely. Now, y'all, I have two dogs. So I'm going to be very clear. One of my dogs, absolutely, in a heartbeat, I would bring her back. The other one, I don't think so. Probably not, because she's already a bit much. And
She's already pretty wild.
yeah, she's already, yeah, I'm good. Um,
She'd eat your face for sure as a zombie dog.
right. So the family arrives to this house, and that's the other thing too, is well, clearly seems to make sense. Like, I mean, it's pretty established that this guy does not think things through, Lewis, and demonstrated by the fact that, I mean, I guess it's the late 80s, basically 1990. We're still in a
Mm-hmm,
time
mm-hmm.
where dudes will just go out and just buy a house, and a wife just sees it for the first time just when she shows up or when it's already purchased. Like he's like, "What do
Yeah.
you think?" And she's like, "Well, I love it," which is great. But all glad she likes it. But also at the same time, I'm like, that's pretty
Yeah.
wild.
I okay. One thing that I noticed about this movie right away, and I hadn't really thought about it until this watch, like for this, it's very gendered. Like the statements that Judd says, like about a man and his blood being like a different type of soil and all those things, like metaphors, 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 whatever, what the fuck. But like just the way that like he presents information to his family, like it's this very old fashioned, like you're the strength of the family, you're the decision maker. Wives and women can't handle stress or and anything like that. So I enjoyed that part, especially because Lewis is so fucking stupid and just makes really bad decisions the whole time. Um, and this guy's supposed to be a doctor. Like we have so many dumb doctors that are coming up in the 80s specifically. So yeah, I like the gender dynamic for this movie. And whenever the wife travels, the kids are coming with. Like, God forbid that fucking man is left in that house with two children. Like he couldn't even handle it when his wife was there. That kid's running out in the road. So,
He's supposed to watch a cat for all of 2 seconds, and look what happened. The cat dies immediately.
the cat does die immediately. Like, okay, so I would never judge anyone's choices. Like, it's totally your choice if you want to have an indoor outdoor cat or if you want to have your cats just indoors. I personally have my cats indoors because I have a busy fucking road out in front of my house. Like, it's a bit, there's a freeway exit, like literally just, right around the corner. And then a four-way stop that I've heard so many cars smash into each other time and time again that I'm like, I'm not letting my cats outside. So if you saw those trucks going by and your neighbor literally told you, hey, so many pets die here that we've made this fucking fucked up, creepy cemetery and the children are all sad, I'd keep my cat inside. Maybe that's just me being too cautious.
100% agree with you. And I'll actually go a step farther, saying that if you have an outdoor cat, fuck the fuck off. What are you doing? Stop it. Absolutely stop it.
Oh, I
First
love
of
that you
all,
went hard on this. Tell me why.
well, first of all, well, one, in the context of this movie, if you had an indoor cat, none of
None
this
of
would
this would
ever
have
be an
happened.
issue. None
Yep.
of it. None of it.
Could have avoided the whole mess.
The second thing is that outdoor cats are particularly harmful to an environment, especially when you're by a forested area like
It's
this,
true.
because
Yeah.
all you've done is you've just introduced a new predator into this
Hmm.
area, right? And that's generally what happens is a lot of birds. I mean, people don't seem to care as much about the mice or the rats or whatever, but it's like
Hmm.
birds and other animals will start dying in the area,
Yep.
and all the native, I mean, granted, we've already moved in and ruined a lot of, creatures fucking,
Yeah.
living
Yeah,
spaces,
there's
but
that.
do not have a cat outside. That is my public service announcement. I put it down in my notes, underlined it 3 times. Do not leave your cats indoors, dude. Like what the fuck?
And you know what? Like my cats are very happy indoors. Like we don't live in a big house, but they fucking love being indoors. And like the few times that like, Phil leaves the door open and my orange cat Quasi, he's adorable and perfect. When he walks outside, he immediately gets stressed. He's like, "Whoa, I should not be here," and starts like wailing and meowing like someone bring me back inside. Like he's so overwhelmed by it because they don't like change, but I know like a lot of people are into having their cats outside. Yeah, it just makes me just out of the selfishness of not wanting to have to bury my fucking cat. Like
If you know anybody that has an outdoor cat, start by politely telling them you need to
the
cut
fuck
that
off.
out. It's actually really bad, and you will have no idea, like just the carnage that you're inflicting in the area by having an outdoor
Yeah.
cat. And
Um
also, to be fair, in the increased chance of course, the cat getting hit by a truck, or
mm,
more likely, probably chased down, eaten by a coyote or something.
yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, it does.
But if my cats were hit by a truck and I had a pet cemetery ready, like readily available, I absolutely would have zombie cats. Like no questions asked. I would bury them in the pet cemetery for sure.
I love your poor pup, Walter. How old's Walt now?
Oh, Walter's gonna be 16 in 2 months. His birthday is April Fool's Day.
Walter looks like he already made a trip through the pet
He
cemetery a little bit.
he looks
I
fucking
love
dead,
him.
y'all. He has like that glassy, like opalescent eyes now because he can't see, he can't
Cataracts.
hear, he can barely even smell, I think. So we we love Walter. He does really nothing but sleep. Honestly, Walter's lived so long, I would not put him in the pet cemetery because I'd be like, dude, you've paid your dues. Like, you've been through it.
You've had a full life. I love
Yeah.
Walt.
Yeah, he's
Um,
the greatest.
so we have our neighbor across the street, Judd, played by our industry legend Fred Gwynn,
Hmm.
and whatever the fuck he's got going on. And we also introduce Missy. What's Missy's deal again?
I'm so sad that you asked me that because I had the same question written down. Is she the nanny?
I guess she's just the
Did
help
you
that
see her
comes
do
in.
anything productive?
Well, she brought in some clean laundry once and then just said cryptic shit all the time and then
Yeah,
killed herself.
I don't understand her role in this movie. And I don't like, was her suicide like prompted by like the negative, creepy energy of the pet cemetery? Or like, was that just completely unrelated? Like, I don't, maybe that was the thing that's in the book that was sold short in the movie and we would have learned more about her.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen King's pretty good for his random asides that have nothing to do with the rest of it.
Hmm.
Like this whole situation with Rachel and Zelda. Like, what the fuck? That whole
Oh my
thing. But
God, it's
I've
so
got a lot
good.
to
We have
say
so
about
much to
that.
say about that.
Yeah. Gosh. Right. So they find this pet cemetery, and this is again, oh my God. Like, first of all, like walking to this pet cemetery, hey, you know what? Good on all these kids, these random kids that you never see that put this together.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have said, like, let's, if I was like a parent, I'd be like, look, here, let me help you paint a sign that doesn't look as terrifying and ominous.
And
Um,
spelled correctly.
and then also, if I was like the parent of these children, I'd be like, did you all like decide to make this weird design and this circle situation? Like, I don't like kids
I'd
being
be
left to their own
worried.
devices like that.
I'd be worried about the children.
I'd be very worried about these children,
Hmm.
unless they were all also hit by trucks and pet cemeteried. I don't know.
Well, what
Um,
I really like Judd bringing this family like down the trail to this pet cemetery and like taking on this like grandfather role of explaining death to these children, which is hilarious to me because the mom has such strong feelings about children not knowing that death exists. But she's just like, you know what? Sure, let's go on a tour to this pet cemetery. And that feels, again, like very gendered that like the men are just like, we're doing this. And, this random fucking neighbor is talking about death to the kids. But in Judd's defense, I'm more on his side where it's like, you don't need to get deep with death. And like, this is a hot parenting take, and I'm going to have a few. I talk to my son about death. He knows that Walter's at the end of his life, and it makes him treat him nicer. Like, I'm like, he's in his twilight years. Like, be kind to him. Give him your fucking table, your little chicken scraps if you can. Like, let him live his life. He's doing great. Like, and my family is very much that way. Like, we're kind of morbid.
Hmm.
We talk about writing wills, we talk about life insurance, we talk about all of those things. So when she's like not even willing to acknowledge that there's a chance that, yes, if you put your cat on an operating table, it could die, she's like, you better promise that cat's going to be okay. Whoa, never promise. Never promise anything like that. You can't
Yeah.
control life and death. So, I really enjoy just the neighbor just taking on this really important role, but um I think it's important to talk to children about death. And if you don't, they're going to be more sad when their fucking goldfish dies and you have to explain it in the moment. So, prep them.
Yeah. Don't shilly shally. Give the girl a promise.
Yeah, what is shilly shally? I wrote
I've
that down too.
never heard of that. And I'm like, don't promise that child. We don't fucking know what the fuck's
Do
gonna
you love the
happen.
tension though of him going up to her and being like, if anything happens to this fucking cat, you're going to explain it to her? I was like, yeah, she fucking is.
100%. And that's where I was just like, no, he's being a reasonable doctor. He's like, no, dude, I don't tell patients 100% promise anything because fuck, if I
Yeah.
fucking know, bro, like
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And and they're and they did the right thing. They go neuter that cat. You
Yeah.
know, spay and neuter your pets, everybody. That's my second
Yeah.
PSA.
And
Yeah,
Church is so cute. I feel so bad for everything that happens to him. He's got like a cute little fat face. I love Church.
I love those I love black cats. I like grayish black cats. I'm gonna shout out my friend Hal had a great cat named Flower. She was great.
Oh,
Shout out my friend Chase. He had a fucking legendary cat named Cinder.
yeah.
Um
Cinder.
so
Legend.
I love me a good black cat. So um and also take a pause here. I've just given up on the fact that I try to avoid animal deaths because here we are just now in a movie that just opens with just animal carcasses or was buried ones. But
I was waiting for you to address that.
I know, whatever. I know. And here I am. You're just like, oh, what do you want to do at the end? What do you want to do to close out February? And I was like, oh, let's just do Pet Cemetery. And you're like, okay, bro, you just volunteer that on your own, yet you keep. Yeah, I know. So I'm aware, whatever. But
Oh, that's good.
so hey, shout out to Church. I like the
Yeah,
name Church just on its own. I mean, it was
I
short
do
for Winston
too.
Churchill. That's a little
Yeah.
weird, whatever,
It
but
is
I
a
just
little
like the
weird
name
for a
Church.
cat.
Yeah. Now we introduce our other character.
Mhm.
What's his name? Victor, the student, who
Mhm.
is never alive when you see him, technically.
He
Um,
sure isn't.
again, gets hit by a fucking truck, a student at this
Like jogging,
university.
right? He was
I
jogging.
Yeah, and I'm like, there are just so many truck deaths in this movie. It doesn't make sense. That would be an epidemic in this town if
And
enough things were killed by trucks like that.
what I love about Victor's death is that head wound
Yeah.
looks so good. Like, it is really intense to look at. And I don't know who thought he was going to survive that. Like, I saw that big chunk of his head missing and I was like, "Oh, Victor, it's not looking good for you."
Lewis didn't even try. He just looked. He was just
He
like,
just sat there and was like,
ah,
"Fuck."
yeah, fuck. Let me think about this. And then he just starts fucking spitting blood on him. Coming back alive and says some wild cryptic shit.
Yeah,
Um,
why? So that's on my list of questions. Why do we think that he already had like cryptic things to say? Like, is it just the energy like of him like being near death that like he's like closer to this connection of the pet cemetery? Like, what is it that makes him this like defining ghost guide, if you will?
I mean, at least it was just he just explained it away, saying like, hey, you tried to help me, So now in the afterlife, I'm going to try and help you. To which
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
I'm like, that's telling though. If that's a thing that exists, and if you're a doctor, like, shouldn't you be at least visited by,
Several
unless you
people.
either you have saved everybody, so it's not a big deal, and this is the first person that you couldn't save because I
Uh-huh.
mean his head smashed him. What the fuck are you gonna
Oh, it's
do,
pretty
right?
bad. Yeah.
And they're like, doctor, you got to see him. It's like, first of all, like, I'm not like a trauma surgeon, and two, like, that kid's fucked. Like,
Yeah, he's fucked.
y'all shouldn't be touching him. Y'all aren't
Yeah,
getting
you
like
shouldn't be
brains and
carrying
shit on your
him. Just
place.
let him die
Yeah,
in peace.
I know,
Um,
right?
okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. That feels pretty good. Yeah.
And he's pretty clear. He's just like, hey, bro, there's gonna be a spot that's beyond that pet cemetery that you should not go to. So please don't do that. And
Well,
yeah,
here's my thing. If you're gonna be a ghost that can very clearly communicate, this isn't a situation where he's just like writing one word on the wall and you have to fucking like wordle that shit out and figure out, like what's the message. No, he can very clearly speak sentences.
yeah,
Instead of like warning him about the pet cemetery, how about we say, watch your fucking kid. Don't let him run in the road. Crisis averted. Watch your kid. Come
yeah.
on.
Like, literally between his
I'm
cat
like
and the student,
yelling.
two truck deaths have happened since he moved there. Yet he's not going to at least just put a fence. Like, I get it. Hey, man,
Offense.
it's, you need to take it up with the town or whatever municipality situation it is.
Not your
I don't
wife,
know.
though.
I don't know
She'll
if
deal
you've
with
got
it.
like, a mayor council or a council manager situation. I don't know how you need to take that up, to get like at least some, like, a speed bump on this fucking
Yeah.
streets. I
Oh
mean, look,
yeah,
I don't,
speed bump. That'd be good. Stop sign,
what
stop
stops
light.
people, what stops people from, like, putting up those signs that say, like, kids at play or whatever the fuck,
Yeah, you can put those
but
anywhere.
so, or put up a fence. Like, there's a lot of things you could have been doing anyway
Mm-hmm.
to really thwart a lot of this from getting much worse. Like, I get, hey,
Yeah,
sometimes cat can die. Yeah, that sucks. But even still, y'all should have done better by keeping that poor cat inside.
definitely.
So, so no, yeah, this dude is not, yeah, he is especially helpful and honestly especially sassy. Victor, when he's popping up in
Love
like
him.
people's dreams and shit. And then he makes it like very clear. He's like, hey, bro, I'm gonna take you to the cemetery and I'm gonna point over there. I'm gonna say, like, bro, don't, don't go there. I'm trying to help you. Don't do
Yeah.
this, please. And like really doing a lot more work than your standard ghost should be doing for a random person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he might be my favorite character in the
Maybe me too.
story, just based off of like he visits everybody. Like he's with Lewis, he's with Rachel, he's obviously in Ellie's dreams. The only one he doesn't visit is Gage. And at that point, I'm like, if you would have stood at the edge of the road, maybe that kid wouldn't be running towards you. Like I'd be like, oh God, that head wound. No, thank you.
Little too gooey for me. And I'm a
Yeah.
toddler. So no thank you. Um, and I didn't realize how much I appreciate just how much of a simple transition can be where you're like, oh, we're into Thanksgiving now. We took down the Thanksgiving thing in the window, or sorry,
Yeah.
Halloween thing in the window, and put up a Thanksgiving thing, and we're
Yeah.
good. So the only reason this guy is not going to Thanksgiving dinner is because the parents don't like him, or the father-in-law and mother-in-law, father-in-law particularly, don't like him, and that's
Hmm.
it. He doesn't have to go. He just gets out scot-free. That's
That's
fucking great.
bullshit. That yeah,
Yeah.
that like, it's great, but like it's total bullshit. Like
Oh, it's great for him, but fucking
it's
fucked up for her and the
yeah,
family.
like
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, but also like her like being like she's like, "Oh, it doesn't feel right. Like it's Thanksgiving." Obviously, she wants you to come. You need to take one for the team and so do the fucking parents. Like this is the father of your grandchildren. Like accept it, move on and be as cordial as you can. Like you don't even have to talk. You'll be
Yeah,
stuck in your face.
she's got to carry the brunt just because fucking two men can't get over their fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
Look at
exactly.
that. Now everyone's Thanksgiving is ruined. Awesome. Thanks. Maybe except for Lewis's, because I'll be honest with you,
Oh, that would be so good to just stay
I
home by yourself.
I love spending holidays alone. There was a
Mm.
segment where I was quite a lot, not in a depressing way. Don't worry for me,
When you
everybody.
said
It's
that, it did sound a little depressing.
yeah, don't worry, y'all. I'm fine. I'm good. But I loved it. It's just I
Yeah.
don't know. I just
No
feel like
pressure.
yeah, I feel like the world's quiet and everyone's just doing their own fucking thing, and I just
Hmm.
get to just be alone. I do cherish my times where I get to be absolutely just in solitude. So,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, I was hearing it. Now, the thing is, if I'm charged with keeping an eye on some pets, I'm gonna do that. But like you said earlier, literally immediately, like literally, it's like the day they left, and then
It's not even
fucking
like the late afternoon yet.
no, like Judd called and like they probably even made it through like security yet and to the gate. Well, actually, I don't even know if there was security at this point. It was 1989. It's all pre 9/11.
No, no, they
So,
just walked right through the door and went on the plane.
yeah. So and Judd calls and says, pretty sure your cat's real fucking dead." And then, of course, Lewis
This
comes
looks
out
like your cat.
and he's like, yeah, that's absolutely my cat. Whoops. And then Judd. Now, granted, now all this falls on Lewis because Lewis, again, kind of like fuck, what's his name in Reanimator? Not Herbert, but
Oh,
the other guy,
Dan.
Dan. Like Dan, Lewis, y'all
Hmm.
like I felt like it was even after the fact. And well, first of all, fuck Judd, because
Yeah, absolutely.
he doesn't even like let Lewis stew on this for a minute of
Does
like,
he doesn't even really explain the situation. He's just like, come on, come with me.
oh, he doesn't
Right?
explain what's happened until the cats come back already.
Yeah.
And
I
so but then Lewis, I'm like, why are you going that fucking far? As soon as I had to like climb on top of like a boulder and pull myself
I feel
up,
like he's
I'd be
gonna
like,
murder me.
yeah, I'd be like, no, dude, I'm just gonna tell my kid, like I'm just gonna tell her the fucking truth. Like, who cares? Like,
What?
we'll
Where
work
did you
through
say
it with the
they
kid.
are?
They're in Maine.
Okay.
That's which is where like almost all of Stephen King's stories take place, by the way.
Is he from Maine?
I lived there for quite a long time, based a lot of stories there.
Okay. So my question is, because I really know very little about Maine, like they go through quite the assortment of geographic landscapes to get to this like burial ground. Is that Maine? Like because we went from like a giant plain of a field where the houses are to a forest to a rocky mountain area to like a cleared out dirt area. What am I looking at here?
Maine, thanks Google.
Are you looking up Maine?
Yeah, Maine has varied geographic features, from its coast to its lakes to its mountains and streams, which we've seen all of these things. It has 73
Okay.
rivers, longer than 20
Damn.
miles, and countless other rivers and streams. More than 700 mountains reach over 1,000 feet or
Okay.
higher.
Okay.
So I know. So yeah, I mean, maybe you just get a
A
little
little
bit
bit
of
of
everything.
everything.
Yeah,
Kind of California style. Okay, I had to ask because that
it was quite a journey.
wouldn't you think though? Okay, low key, I think I would think he was going to murder me in the woods, like us getting that far out.
100%.
You don't know this guy that well.
Yeah, dude. Nobody takes me into the woods without telling me what's going on,
No.
unless they're trying to murder me, and that's something you should all stick to as well.
Yeah, but and also, even if you do tell me what's gonna go on in the woods, I probably still don't want to be there, especially with like no supplies. They had no food, no snacks, no water, not a tent. I don't know.
Yeah, Judd's fine. He's like, I brought my cigarettes. I'm good.
Yeah, he's in his fucking 70s, just smoking cigarettes, climbing mountains and shit. Like, get it, Judd? Like in his fucking
Pretty
overalls.
pretty legendary.
He's like, I'm like 7 feet tall. I can just real quick, just pop right on top of this rock.
He died like 3 years after this movie came out, so maybe it's because he
Probably
was
from that trek.
probably. I'm
God.
not gonna look, but we'll see. Rest in peace, Fred Gwynn. We love you,
I
pal.
know. We love him.
Yeah, so none of this is explained when he's like just bury the cat
Mm-hmm.
and they come back and the cat comes back and hey, you know what? Spooky undead reanimated cat technology has gone a long way between 1985
Oh yeah.
Reanimator again and 1989 this movie. Just
It looks good.
it looks really good. What a sweet little cat. And then
I
I
know.
nobody seemed to really be put off by like just really like the glowing green eyes. Very intense.
It's very like goosebumps. I feel like I would be very intrigued by that as someone who loves spooky things and cats. I'd be like, "Ooh, is this an evil cat?" But yeah,
Love
like
cats
no,
with green eyes.
yeah, but like knowing that that's my pet and it never had that feature before of glowing eyes, I would be a little concerned. Yeah, a little concerned.
And then of course, Judd's like, oh yeah, came back. Pretty cool, huh? And then of course, Lewis is trying to like figure it out, like as far as like, oh well, no, I must have buried it alive. That must have been what happened,
Yeah, the
right?
logic gets to him. The same shit that Dan from Reanimator pulled. He
Right.
was like, nah, maybe it wasn't dead.
Yeah. It's just got its head stuck in a jar. That happens all the time. Don't tell me he died this time because he gets his head stuck in a jar all the fucking time while he's rooting through the trash. So get the fuck out of here, Herbert. Um, but so Judd tells him the story of like, and then we see Scotty's grave in the beginning of the movie.
Hmm.
That's the name of his dog. He was a good fellow, such a good fellow. I love
Aw,
that. That's how I
yeah.
would honor my dogs too. Such good fellows. And but even when he tells the story, and he doesn't give up everything because he doesn't talk about the dude that was brought back, but he was like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it crushed me when my dog died, so I buried it there, at this area beyond the pet cemetery." Which I'm like, first of all, it isn't like just beyond the pet cemetery. Like you need to
No.
go, you need to like do a whole day situation to fucking get there. So
Yeah.
you
Just
all,
Beyond is not as like if you said something was just beyond the pet cemetery, I'd be like, oh good. We don't need snacks or a fucking full on picnic. That was a picnic situation. They did a full ass hike. We needed a picnic.
well, and that's why I'm like, Victor, like, why even bring it up, dude? What were the like? I mean, unless there was some evil fucking shit at play, right? And also it
Hmm.
wasn't for fucking Judd. I'd be like, it's not like, oh hey, don't go to this corner of the property because there's a, I don't know, the soil's a little bad. You'll sink and get your boots muddy. You have to go like way out of your way. And I would have never had any idea that this place fucking existed unless you fucking came to me like a
Hmm.
fucking ghost. And don't get me wrong, Judd's
Yeah.
not off the hook either, because fuck them both. Y'all had to go a
Hmm.
fucking long way to bring me out here. So like let's not pretend. I just don't think ultimately Victor was that helpful. Um,
Well, I agree. And when Judd tells the story about his dead dog, he clearly saw the consequences of bringing
right?
back the zombie dog. Like the dog, he was vicious. And he said that he said something about like the dog like dying resting. So I'm assuming like they like actually like put him down. Um but that would be a perfect example of why not to do that. Like, if you're so worried about Ellie, do you really want her to be with this fucking feral zombie cat? Like, that's not going to be a good situation. It's better to let the poor girl grieve about her dead cat. So, what I'm wondering, because throughout this whole movie, you see a lot of like weird, spooky things happening, different visions and stuff. I feel like the pet cemetery has an effect on the things that are close by it. And I feel like it almost is like making Judd a little like kooky, like
Yeah.
because he's so close to it. So even though he knows the consequence of it, he's like drawn to it and like drawn to almost like feeding its energy. Because once the cat is buried there and comes back to life, that ghost gets way more prominent and isn't just visiting people in dreams. Now he's like following them around, making suggestions at the rental car place. So
Oh
Like,
yeah. Oh, he's sitting like fucking, an economy plus on the air fucking
yeah,
on
he's
the
like
airplane.
smiling. He's like, yes, please, I'll take some crackers. Thank you.
Yeah.
A soda water, please. Um,
No kidding.
so like I feel like there's this, and again, like I haven't read the book, so I feel like, I probably never will, honestly. Not a reader. But I like this idea of the pet cemetery kind of making people be off. And the more they interact with it, the more they like are hungry for it. And like, I don't know, just something about the draw of it, because it just seems so weird that he would do that after knowing what happened to the dog. Logic would tell you not to do it again.
Well, and of course, and then after, you know, Lewis's toddler dies, that's when, Judd's like, I think this is kind of my fault too.
Yeah.
Maybe just a little bit.
Yeah. He's like crying.
Maybe I shouldn't have pulled Joel to that fucking place. Maybe it's like now he wasn't talking about how he was compelled, but I definitely know what you mean. I think that there is that power at play that, draws people in. But then I'm just
Mhm.
like, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Something
So,
I do have to address while we're still at this part of the movie that I
mhm,
never realized before. If you watch it again, play play pay close attention to Judd's wallpaper in his kitchen. It's so good. The wallpaper in his kitchen and then the wallpaper in like the dining area, it's
mhm.
so 80s. It's like giant floral prints and like fruit like on there and like green tile. Love it. 5 out of 5 stars for Judd's decorating.
I love a good wallpaper. It's
Oh, I
not as
love
in vogue
wallpaper.
anymore, but yeah.
No, ugh, but I love to see it on screen at least.
So this cat's back and just, and honestly, like,
Not
other
that
than
bad.
smelling a little bit, like not doing anything really outside the behaviors of a normal cat. Now,
Yeah,
first of all, if you're a medical doctor and you get scratched that bad from a cat, you need to go fucking get checked out, especially
disinfect
if the
it
thing's
right away.
fucking feral or undead. But I mean, like when he's in the bathtub and the cat just drops a mouse in there, I'm like, that's kind of that's normal outdoor cat shit. Like they will
Yeah,
just fuck with a bird or kill a mouse and just bring it to you, just
yeah.
drop it out in front and say, "Hey, here you go." Because, and my understanding is that cats think that you, the adult, are you are a giant stupid fucking cat who can't hunt.
Mhm. Yep.
So here you go, idiot.
They're like,
Here's how
this
to
is
do
what it
it.
looks like. Get at it.
Yeah.
I can't be the only one pulling the weight around here.
So the family's back, and yeah, sure. Their family's back from the Thanksgiving vacation, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, cat smells a little weird. This isn't good. No one likes this one bit. What's
Like he
going
couldn't
on
give the
here?"
cat a bath? Wouldn't you think to bathe that cat before your
Uh,
daughter is going to be sleeping with it?
do you bathe your cats?
No, but if they died and came back, I probably fucking would. They bathe
Dang.
themselves. They smell beautiful.
Well, they
Um,
do. I'm just thinking, how hard is it to like bathe a cat? And that's got to be
okay, so
hard.
there's two things you can do. One,
Okay.
you can take them to the groomer, which the mom was like, that's very expensive. I'm like, your husband's a fucking doctor. He can afford to get the cat groomed. The
No.
second thing you can do, which is the funnier option, is they have bags that you put your cat in. So you just have their head out and their whole body is like trapped so they can't claw you. And then but it's like the water and soap goes through it. It's wild. I would never use that on my cat. They don't need to be bathed. They are self-cleaning. Like they're so clean for cats. But like I wouldn't be able to do that. But I mean, he could have given that cat a fucking bath or brought it to the groomer. Like you had time to resurrect it from the dead, but you couldn't give it a bath.
Yeah, like hose it off or something. Like just do what you can. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And the other fun thing too is that as soon as he sees his daughter, she's like, Daddy, I had a dream that you and Judd buried the cat at the or that church died and you buried the cat at the pet cemetery. He handles that shit so fucking smooth. Doesn't even like get a red face. He's just like, oh, that's a silly dream, isn't it? I would be fucking shook. I'd be like, fuck. Bill knows that the cat died.
You're like, where the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you?
Yeah. Like, what? I love that so much, how good he is at just like lying bold face to her.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, y'all, and I should have done more research. Annie just kills herself, and she just might be just, yeah, just fucking just bummed out by the negative demon powers that are kind of going on through the place. But and I don't really understand her whole personal situation, so I don't know. But yeah, we lose Missy here.
Hmm.
Um, and but it's a well-attended funeral.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so a lot of people cared about Missy, right?
Yeah.
A well-attended funeral overseen by just a fucking what's the word? When you just stick out more than like a fucking sore thumb. Stephen King.
Oh, he's there.
Oh my God. He has such a like it's something like his like bone
He has such
structure
a
in his face.
interesting face.
But
Um,
that's
I-
him. He's giving the
oh, he's
funeral
he's
sermon or
like
whatever.
giving the eulogy.
Yeah.
Oh shit. I did not even
Oh
I
my
wasn't
gosh.
looking at him. I was looking at everyone else at the funeral. Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll have to go back and look at that.
No, I think they get I forget exactly what happens in between here. I'm sorry, but we do get to a point shortly after where um the kid is now thinking about death a lot, Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
Um and it's just like, well, the cat's gonna die
Mm-hmm.
soon, eventually, like in this and this and this. And the dad's trying to kind of being as reassuring as he can be, given that he knows the cat's already dead and has now
He's like,
come
don't
back.
worry, I got that covered.
Yeah, right.
The
So
best insurance policy ever.
and then this very much upsets Rachel, who's listening in from the kitchen.
Who honestly needs to calm the fuck down.
I mean, I don't know, but then you hear this
I hate
fucking
her so much.
story, this story she shares, right? Which I'm glad that she tells Lewis, her husband, at some point. That's good. But the absolute next person that she needs to tell this story to is a therapist.
She should have already told it to the therapist even before him, honestly.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, but
Should have
Jesus
told
Christ.
it to Child Protective Services.
Yeah. So this whole fucking side story about Rachel's sister Zelda,
Mhm.
um, who, I mean, tried to look online, and alleged like the sister's supposed to be 10 when she dies, but is
That is a
played by
grown ass man, y'all. That is
a
a grown
grown
fucking man.
ass Iggy Pop looking man who is, and also y'all, that is it's just straight offensive and ableist, like this whole thing.
It's
Because
odd.
now, yes, spinal meningitis can be just absolutely just awful, you know.
Hmm.
Now I don't think it turns you into a ghoulish demon
I don't
like
think it does
this.
either. Like, I don't know much about it. There's no way that it could do that. But I mean, perhaps if it was very severe and untreated. Like, it seems like they just fucking locked her in a room and didn't take her to the doctor.
So this is, and then you're just supposed to like roll with these parents for the rest of the movie. They're still around and nobody brings up to them, wow, that awful awful thing you did to your firstborn
I
child.
know. You know what's funny that you say that? I kind of like separated the story from like the parents just existing alongside. Right? Like,
Yeah,
because you're like, the audacity of that dad beating the shit out of Lewis at his child's funeral is already like, I'm skipping ahead here, but like,
yeah.
you've done some fucking wrong in your life too, sir. Like, you need to take it back, like reel it in. I think what I love most, well, one, I don't know the name of the actress that plays Rachel, but her acting in this scene is rough. Like, it's pretty rough. She's not selling it to me at all. But also, I love that after she tells the story, Lewis says something along the lines of, if I ever needed another reason to hate your mother and father, like, I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, Who says that?
Yeah, I like how he's just using this traumatic story to fuel his grudge.
Yeah.
And also, like, and at the end of the movie, or like towards the end of the movie, when they're like going back to Boston, he's staying behind. The mom and Ellie are going to Boston, with grandparents and this and this and this, and then they kind of make amends. Lewis and the father-in-law being
Mhm.
like, "Hey, I was a little harsh, and this and this and this," and I'm just like, I don't know. Like now, this whole thing is even worse than before because now I've got this new knowledge about you just
Traumatizing my wife.
and leaving your firstborn to die. Like that's pretty
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And so they get off pretty easy, both very easy,
Yeah, I
given what
agree.
they
Yeah.
did. Um, oh my gosh. So where were we with this? Oh geez. Well, I mean, we're actually not far off from there because we do pop over to Gage's death,
Mhm.
essentially, after some
Mhm.
time passes.
What do you think about
And
how this played out?
oh, the whole thing was hilarious because you knew from like the beginning this is exactly what's gonna happen. Because it starts off super soon, and then they start playing the Ramones song. This truck driver's like, oh, I'm gonna just keep doing my truck thing. Here, I'm gonna start just going faster and faster and faster and faster. And this whole just yeah, comical situation.
It's just not subtle that that one of those kids is gonna get hit by a truck. Like, they show these trucks, so it's the first thing that you see after that whole montage, like, intro with the pet cemetery. The first thing you see is one of those big ass trucks, and honestly, they're all red. Did they just use the same shot of that truck, like, going by? I
It's the same truck and the same driver just going in circles around this fucking
He's
town.
just mad from the pet cemetery. So yeah, like it's not subtle that like somebody is gonna get hit by this truck. And of course, it has to be Gage. I feel like this was probably very, very scary for people in 1989. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't watch this movie because of like a child death. And the bloody shoe is so good.
It's so good. But then of course, then it has this like, and then it cuts to like the still shots of like the photographs of him as like a baby,
Yeah.
and then the person and I
It was
was like,
very
you don't.
like made for TV.
Oh yeah, it was so bad. So that's why I was just like, none of this feels serious to me. And of course,
No.
he does the no,
Hence the camp.
yeah, it's great. And like I said, hey, this movie goes hard for that. I like that.
Yeah,
Even
it goes
though
hard.
the I mean, okay, I've seen, X amount of truck deaths. I remember telling you, I think my favorite truck death is probably Bride of Chucky.
Mm,
And that guy just explodes
love
into
that.
pieces. So,
Yeah.
and then I was thinking it was going to be the same thing with Gage. You see, like, I'm pretty sure that wasn't a shoe. I'm pretty sure there was a foot in that
There
shoe.
was not a foot in the shoe. You are wild for that.
That had some weight to it. And there would be a foot in that shoe if that was a situation. But either way, when Gage does come back, he looks good
He has like
for
one little
what
scar on his
just a little
forehead.
and
Like,
a
did
little
you
like
visit the
dirt on
plastic
his cheek.
surgeon? Yeah, before you came back?
Yeah, but no, I thought this was a I mean, of course, this is the part I always remember, and this is the part that I think a lot of people will always remember is just like, him chasing the kite. And, I
Hmm.
mean, honestly, between like this movie and then like My Girl, and there was some other movie that did have the kid that I think was in Hook, where he gets like murdered by like the neighbor or something. There was a lot of stranger danger in the 90s, y'all.
Hmm.
So it was some
Hmm.
made for TV movie about
Yeah.
it, but there were a lot of child death situations in
Yeah.
this time. I don't know. What did you think?
Okay. I have to think number one, like they're having their cute little picnic lunch situation. They moved pretty far back away from the road.
Yeah.
And now listen, I don't give a shit about flying kites. So I'm going to start with that. Like, but what I do know about what I do know about kite flying
Okay. Tell me.
is nothing. So let's start there. It's nothing. But I would assume that you can't just choose what direction you want to fly your kite in. Like you've got to follow the wind, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if the wind is drawing you towards, you guys can't see, like people listening cannot see the hand gestures that I am giving for this kite.
She's doing great. Don't worry, everybody.
it it's drawing you towards the road. So maybe flying a kite that day isn't the best decision. And if you're going to fly the kite and you know the wind is going in that direction, go behind the picnic table. You could still go further away from the road and still acknowledge the wind and the direction that it's moving in. So that's my first bone to pick. Fuck flying a kite. Second is, why is this neighbor even at this picnic lunch? He is just hanging out with them all the live long day. Again, like grandpa vibes.
Lonely.
I know, but like, get the fuck out of my house. And then the final thing, and I know that this happens in real life, and it's very sad and unfortunate when it does, and no one's perfect.
When you lose a kite, you lose a good kite.
When
Yeah,
you
I hear
lose a
you.
good kite.
Yeah.
Like, my son, when he was that age, hung out at a park nearby my house, and it has a road next to it that it doesn't have giant trucks going at the speed of fucking light. And I still would not let him get anywhere near the road. My eyes were on him like a fucking hawk. So,
Bad
boo
parents.
on them. Two parents not
Yeah.
able to keep eyes on this child.
Three
And
adults total.
then the buffoonery of the dad running and tripping. Also, she's like, get that baby, get that baby. Bitch, you better fucking run for your kid. You better fucking sweat, sprint like you're in the fucking Olympics. My ass would have been, I would have cleared Lewis times two. I would have been running so fast. She didn't even move. Shock, whatever. I can't take this scene. It is so disappointing that it's funny. Like, it's very funny. When he trips, that shit's hilarious. That's all I
Love
got.
it. I'm not a parent. I get it. I get it. I would just think I'd be like a fucking gazelle. I've seen people do some
Yes.
superhuman shit that the body just can't do when
Yeah.
you are just in that mode where you're just fucking mama bear, right?
It's
Coming after that
primal.
fucking thing. Yeah. So I would say you, yeah. So when he trips like a fucking asshole,
Stupid ass.
stupid
I would
ass
never
idiot.
forgive him. I'd be like, you fucking moron. I can't believe you tripped. And that is the reason why our son is dead. Also, we weren't watching him at all,
Yeah, I
or
would be
our
like,
kite for that matter.
I'd walk him out to that spot every single day to show him the spot he fucking tripped on and be like, is it that fucking hard, you dumb fucking asshole? You're an adult man with an adult man stride. You can do
How did
this.
that dirt taste? You dumb fuck.
Just-
How's that man soil now?
yeah. Well, yeah, I know. Yeah, that whole thing. No, I don't know. I don't think my heart has especially hard soil. I'm not sure. I haven't dug around and tried, but I don't know what that whole fucking thing was.
No.
Um, so you're right. So you do mention the funeral, right? Where it gets a little testy.
I
Um,
I would have beat the shit out of my father-in-law, honestly. Like, even for Rachel, like I would have been like, Dad, you need to get the fuck out of here. Like,
yeah,
how dare he be that disrespectful during anyone's funeral?
yeah,
Like, let alone like your grandson. Like, you need to take that shit outside and take a deep breath and count to 10, you know? That's totally inappropriate. And the audacity of whoever that fucking guy was at the funeral telling Lewis to calm down. I was
yeah,
like, I'm sorry, were you watching the same scene that we were?
yeah. Is your son's face splattered all over the fucking road? Like,
Yeah,
Jesus. That's why I'm like,
yeah.
there would be no way that he would have exploded. That's why there had to be a foot in that shoe.
I mean, he still had the foot. It's coming back.
That's true. Well, he looked much better than he should have because everybody else that comes back looks pretty fucked up.
Yeah, that's true.
So, um, yeah. So, okay. So we get to the point where we go to, um, they're like, hey, we're heading back to Chicago. Rachel and Ellie leave. Lewis stays behind.
Of course.
Um, and of course, you've got Judd, who's like, hey, you remember when I said we never buried a human back there?
I got
Because
more
now,
info.
yeah, because all of a sudden Judd wants to like be helpful now and now feel like a little bit of guilt,
Mhm.
right? So he's I know he talks about this story about like, yeah, no, yeah, yeah, and it was really bad. So it's not even like just like Reanimator, right? Um,
Yeah.
it's not like there's ever been a situation where this has worked, where
No,
someone comes back and is like total, not even just like
not
not
even close.
normal, but everyone comes back angry and violent and just foamy around the mouth.
Yeah.
And it just like Reanimator, up until the very end of this fucking movie, Lewis is like, well, maybe it'll work this time. Maybe it's because of this, and I'm gonna change it, and it's just gonna work perfectly this time. I'm ready to. I'm gonna get some juice out of this lemon. Believe me.
Now I'm thinking about it, and I can't even think of one movie or television show where someone has been resurrected and it went well. Can you think of one? It always is a shit show.
I don't know why was the first thing I thought of was what was that made for TV movie with Amy Jo Johnson, from the Power
I
Rangers,
know
where
who, yeah, I know
she
her, but
she's like a 50s like teenager and she like comes back as a ghost maybe. I don't think they resurrected her though in a weird way. What movie am I thinking of? Don't even worry about it.
I
Just
don't
keep
know what
popping
movie
over.
you're thinking of. We'll send that to the research team. The closest thing that I can think of, and it still doesn't go well because there's a lot of like human bodies being eaten, is My Boyfriend's Back, which is I think from the early 90s. I don't know if it's a gem, y'all. If you ever want to watch a dumb fucking movie that's super fun, is one of my favorites. And yeah, he comes back from the dead and is completely himself, like same personality, but he does need to eat human flesh. So still not a perfect situation.
Okay, so
You found
Disney
it?
Channel straight to video movie um with Justin Whalen, Shelley Long, and Amy Jo Johnson called Susie Q.
Oh,
Um
yes, I've seen Susie
film
Q.
film tells a story about a young woman dying with her beau on her way to their winter formal back in the 50s. Okay, so all this tracks and coming back to her old, I don't know, but it's more of a ghost situation. They don't resurrect her. I don't know why it was the
That's
first
different.
person I thought of, but she's a ghost that just comes back and it's looking good
I
as she
remember that
does.
movie. Yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
she's so hot.
Yeah. I
Yeah, it
can't think
doesn't go
of bringing
well.
someone back from the dead and it works out pretty well.
No,
Can't think
don't
of it.
fuck with the dead. Like leave things alone. Just, it is what it is. You got to accept it.
Yeah. So, of course, here's my whole thing with Victor at first, because it's like Victor's like, hey, dude, don't do this. And
Mhm.
Judd's like, I know what you're thinking, by the way. Because remember, I put this idea in your head to begin
Yeah,
with your fucking
both of
cat.
them.
I
Both of
didn't
them.
have to.
Yeah.
I know. It was funny. I was thinking like Judd's like, I know what you're thinking. I know you thought about it, about, burying your son up there. And then what if Lewis is like, well, I didn't until now. You just keep fucking
He's like,
saying it, bro.
actually, that didn't sound like too bad of an idea.
Yeah. And then my issue with Victor, why he isn't particularly helpful, at least until the end, is that like, why is he going to fucking Ellie's dreams and giving her these like vivid fucking instructions? Like,
Yeah, go to the
go
mom.
go to the mom, go to another
Yeah.
adult, please.
Yeah.
Someone that can drive a car and like buy airfare, please. Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing with this child? So
Yeah. I like at first I was like, if he didn't eventually communicate with the mom and intervene with her, I would
yeah.
think that maybe like a child's mind is more impressionable and easy to like communicate with or something. Cause you know how they like say like children are more sensitive to like paranormal experiences and such.
Mhm.
That was why I originally had thought he was going to her because it was the easiest route to get to the entire family or the group. But once you know he can just fucking fly on airplanes and shit, then, that kind of defeats that whole purpose. Now he's just scaring that poor little girl, giving her nightmares.
Yeah, I didn't understand what that whole situation was. I think he was just getting bored and being like, how can I insert myself into a fun story now that I'm dead? I got nothing
Mm-hmm.
going on. He was
Mm-hmm.
probably just some random ass, like,
Just fucking around having fun.
yeah, right. So against any common sense, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go exhume my dead toddler's body, and it'll be just fine. And I forget exactly how much time passes kind of since his
Mm.
death and when he gets exhumed, but and then takes him back up, which you would think would be even harder at night to be able to
Oh
get
my
through all that to get to
God. The
that
fact that
place,
he
right?
survived is incredible. Like his
Yeah,
ass should have been dead.
he'd only been
Um,
there once with Judd, and then now all of a sudden he's like an expert in getting there too. It's not like you have like Google Maps
yeah.
to get you there.
I would presume that it's at least a week after that kid died because I mean, time to like prepare for the funeral and everything. And then like you factor in like things like formaldehyde and all of that. I'm like, I feel like this could be a much messier or should have been a much messier, weird situation than it actually was. Like, again, we don't know what powers the pet cemetery has. Maybe it heals wounds, maybe it regenerates feet.
That's true. We don't know. It doesn't get
We don't
into it.
know.
Maybe that's why we got to read the book.
It's
So,
possible.
um, so he's just burying his kid back up there and just being like, yeah, we'll try this out. And you know what? To be fair, when he does say, he's like, look, Ellie and Rachel are out of town. They're never gonna know. If he comes back and he's weird, I'll just put him down again. Easy. That's where I'm just kind of like, to be fair, like, hey, may as well try it. If he's prepared to do that.
Oh, okay. Here's where being a parent comes in. I'll tell you right now, I would do that shit to my cats in a heartbeat. Now, and I posed this question to my husband as well because he like sat in and actually like of all the movies to sit and like watch with me for 20 minutes, never, y'all, never does he sit down and watch these movies with me. He comes in right at the part where this guy's digging up his dead son and is about to put him into the pet cemetery. And I was like, since we're here, would you do it? Would you bury him in the pet cemetery? And he was like, no, I couldn't do it. And I was like, okay, good. That was the right answer. And then he was like, knowing you, you probably would. You know what? Fuck that shit. I absolutely would not. Again, as a horror fan, I have no evidence, not even pretend evidence, that a zombie child would go well. I couldn't kill him. Like, once he's there, I would deal with the situation. I'd be like, I'm gonna lock you in a cage. I'm gonna feed you dead things, whatever I need to do. I'll give you a little scalpel you can play with. Like, I, but I would not, like, I would not do it in the first place. I wouldn't want to risk it. Yeah, having to murder them. Ugh. And when he's sitting in the grave holding that dead baby, that is sad as fuck. That's so sad. That's the only part of the movie that I actually think is like not funny and really sad.
I just think how hard it is for all sorts of couples who do not have children. I'm getting somewhere with this, by the way. So I'm tied to this rule of when Lewis buries this cat church
Hmm.
in the pet cemetery, or well, in that other burial ground, right? And Judd's like, your cat's back. And he goes like, no, and Lewis goes, no, it's Ellie's cat. And Judd goes,
Mm,
no, your cat now.
yeah. What
You
the hell's
know,
up with that?
so now I guess by doing this now you are the one, you have the ownership, you are the guardian of this
Hmm.
cat. And I'm thinking, just loophole wise, I mean, it's just so hard for so many couples in this country to adopt. So all you have to do is just go to some child graveyard, exhume any child, bury it there, and then when it comes back, it's legally yours. And that's so much easier than having to go through all the whole rigmarole with
I mean,
fucking CPS and that whole situation. So theoretically, if that happened to your child and then I exhumed your child's body,
he'd be
right? We're going
yours.
here, and then I buried it, and then he came back like a zombie, you'd all be upset, but I'd be like, nope, y'all can't do shit because now I have
Daddy's home, motherfuckers.
I'm his daddy now, and I have legal protections over your undead child. So now pose that back to your husband and say, what if Kyle did it? And
um I mean, you keep saying legally. I'm like, not like by law, but like by like spiritual law, by the
yeah,
law of fucking paranormal spooky shit,
yeah, Micmac
the
ghost law.
most
Yeah,
thorough of laws.
100%. Yeah, ghost law
Macbeth ghost law.
supersedes. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh, all good points. Yeah.
So,
That gave me a good chuckle.
so Rachel, because now the kids also saying some creepy shit again, being like, "Hey, I'm pretty sure I just had this weird dream where just randomly dad's just going to dig up my brother and I don't know, some weird shit's gonna happen." And the wife calls, he doesn't answer,
Mm-hmm.
calls Judd answers, but then she's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna come home. And then Judd, even still after all this, Judd's like, don't do it, blah 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 blah, because she's
Yeah.
thinking,
Which
or
would make
Judd's
me so suspicious.
so suspicious. First of all, I can do whatever the fuck I want, Judd. Get the fuck out. Number two,
Pencil.
thank you. Um,
Don't edit out the pause.
so then I'm thinking like, still throughout all of this, Judd is so committed to this idea of like, just don't tell your wife, dude. Don't, your wife can't know, she can't handle it. Women can't handle it. And you're like, what the fuck, Judd?
But like,
So
if it works out, if the kid was a reasonable zombie child, she's eventually gonna know. Like, you're gonna be like, hey, so listen, I dug up our son's dead body and buried him in the pet cemetery. By the way, I also did it with the cat. I don't know if you knew. And here we are. He still likes goldfish crackers. So I'm calling this a win. Like,
there you
you
go.
have to present it to her at some point.
So she's on her way back. And yeah, lo and behold, just like the cat, fucking little baby Gage is back and
Oh
has a fucking
man.
vengeance, man. Just knows right to go for where the tiny little baby blades can be,
I know, the little scalpel.
I love this
Nice
little
and
kid just
sharp.
being this
Oh
evil
yes.
little kid.
I I think it's so interesting. Like, Judd had to have known what he was getting himself into when he went into that house. Like, he hears like the giggling. That would have been enough for me to be like, I'm gonna let Lewis handle this on his own. I'm just
There's
gonna
literally two houses, one mine and the one across the street. Who's giggling? Who on earth is giggling?
Yeah, no.
I'm good.
I would have been out of there. And then of course he gets it like that Achilles again,
Always.
like,
Oh,
oh, and deep. Like, you see that shit go deep. Oof,
yeah.
so brutal. Smart kid. Obviously, his dad's a doctor. He knew right where to go.
And they're like a vampire, just going straight for his
I
neck.
know. He bites the shit out of his neck. That's super
Yeah.
fun. I like that.
It is really good. I do like all of this. Like, granted,
Yeah, after Gage
everyone's bad
dies,
choices,
I think
but
it really like it really takes a like an upturn for me. I really enjoy seeing this little zombie child. And I love his sounds, like the zombie child sounds when he first like come like before you see his face, like he's like making little weird. That was pretty good, right?
yeah,
He makes the greatest sounds. Once he starts like getting into like full dialogue, I'm like, were you even talking that much when you were alive? Did your brain get smarter and more
yeah.
advanced like after being zombified? So that's a little bit hard to believe, but yeah, I enjoy watching. I like seeing him kill Judd. That's a fun death.
Yeah, me too. Um, Rachel comes back, of course, and sees the ghost of her sister,
Oh
allegedly, maybe,
yeah. Yeah. That
and then quickly
that's
gets pretty dispatched.
I get that you would be in shock if your dead child was standing in front of you in a tiny top hat, with
Yeah.
like he put on full costume from the photo shoot. I'm like, where did you get that? Um,
Also, by the way, I'm sorry, there was one thing I mentioned, like, yeah, that little fucking top hat. It was like that. It was it's that fucking painting. It's in that
Yeah.
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be little Gage
Yeah.
in a
He,
top
there's it's
front?
like it's a little photo shoot of him.
Oh, it's awful.
So
Oh,
in the here, so if, I don't know that people do this that much now. God, I hope they don't. Please don't do this. Um, like in the 80s and like the early 90s, it was a wild time. Like you would dress your kid up like as a fucking cowboy or put them in a tiny top hat or like a full on like business suit and take like portraits of them.
like a boss baby.
Yeah, sure. And people don't really do that anymore. So I think when you're like watching these older movies and you see these like extravagant photo shoots of children, there's just this weird thing about like having them dress up and be posed. And I can't with that. Like if I try to get Phil in even like a button-up shirt, he looks so uncomfortable. He fucking rips that shit off like there's no tomorrow when he has to take it off. Like I don't put him in button-up shirts. Like why? When was Gage ever wearing his top hat? Anyway, she's in shock.
Have you ever seen the old timey photos of when they dress up um their dead children and take photographs of them?
Yes, those
Yeah,
are interesting for sure.
yeah, those are real fucked up.
Um, yeah, that's a super fucked up situation. But Rachel's coming into the situation like, oh shit, like my kid is alive again, but he's very clearly holding a weapon.
Yeah.
Like you can see it. So I would, do what any fucking mother would do, Rachel, and be like, hey, Gage, why don't you give that to mommy? Like Phil definitely had his moments where he was like, ooh, daddy left the knife like right on the side. He definitely, yeah, it's scary. And you
Oh
just see him
shit.
standing there with a
And then
like a
points it at
sharp
you?
ass knife. No, just holding it. Like, what is this? I don't understand how danger works. And you're like, hey, like give that to me, and they hand it over like, and then you're just like, great job, and then you look at the person who left the knife on the counter and be like, what the fuck. She would have taken that weapon from that baby, but
Well,
she didn't, and she's dead.
she did not, and she is dead. Um, so of course, then Lewis wakes up, just be like, oh hey, what's what's going on?
What happened last night?
Seeing all these fun little footprints walk around. I love it. Just reminds me of Chucky.
It does, it reminds me of Chucky.
Love it. Because it looks like he's wearing like those footprints like look like sneaker
Oh yeah,
footprints,
they look like sneakers,
So
not
definitely
not top hat attire type shoes for sure.
right, exactly. Those would be more exactly more flat, more I mean, maybe pointed toe. I'm not sure.
A
It
little
depends.
heel
Heel, yeah,
situation. Mhm.
exactly. So he wakes up, he realizes or no, he gets a phone call. Yeah, because apparently now George can like make phone calls now. Now, not only does this
Gage.
toddler, who did I say?
George, who's not a character.
I'm thinking of Georgie from It.
Oh, okay,
Sorry,
okay.
that's where it is. Okay, I start my brain connected it, misplaced it somewhere, but it had a logic to it. So Gage, now a toddler who may not be possessed by a demon, neither of which I would think would know how to use a telephone.
Mm-mm.
Your
Mm-mm.
toddler or an ancient demon.
Or
Um,
maybe even reach the telephone because this is like landline era where it's
right.
like at your face level as an adult.
Like unless you're Zach Morris, right? And so gives him a phone call saying like, "Oh hey, what's up?" Played just playing some games, just just being a fucking little asshole. This
Yeah.
baby fucking sucks. Like the whole thing, even
He's
when he was
such a
alive,
dick. Yeah.
this baby fucking sucks. Um, so and then he just goes through. He's got his fucking vials. He's like, all right, I got one. Well, I think he takes one extra. He's like, one he uses on the cat. He takes down Church,
Hmm.
and then
Which was that necessary? Was church really that much of a menace?
dude, not at all. It was only when like Church was like being like held when he didn't want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Church was actually pretty chill.
He was
Which don't
pretty
get me
chill for a
wrong.
zombie cat.
Which don't get me wrong. That's when I'd be like, oh well, then maybe bearing a baby here would work. Okay,
No,
because
yeah, like, because the story about the dog sounds very different than what we experienced with Church. Like, he was easily, disarmed by the stake.
yeah,
But He like gives Church a whole ass speech too before he like puts him down. I'm like, just grab that fucking cat and inject the shit and get to your son. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Wasting time giving fucking monologues.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's, yeah, it's, I think it's pretty hardcore. Him, having to put down his toddler,
Oh,
when he's
I
just like, he's on the
know, right
ground
in
and
the
he's just,
neck.
no, come here, like bringing him over and just, and yeah, you're right. He does let out a pretty good, reaction when that
Hmm.
happens. Um, and yeah, hey, no harm, no foul. Everything kind of worked out. We
Well,
were able to,
for how smart Gage was as a little zombie, you'd think that he would also be able to like play like ham it up and do the like daddy no like kind of thing.
yeah.
If he would have disarmed him for even a second and acted normal, he would have
Hmm.
hesitated. And then
Yeah.
that would have been your time to fucking jab your dad in the neck. Like that would have been it. So I think Gage could have done a better job.
So just like how they did with Bill Baderman's kid, lays down some gasoline, sets the house on fire
Mhm.
while bringing his wife's body out. And he's like, you know what? Even after all of this,
Oh, he's fucking mad by that point.
oh yeah, oh my
Yeah.
God. He just can't cut his losses, right? And he's like, you know
No.
what? You know what?
Why not?
You know what's gonna make my wife happy after all this? Bringing her back from the fucking dead.
Uh-huh. What happened to her eye?
I know. It's pretty bad. I don't know what the fuck that kid did to her. But so she comes back and I think you assume that, because you
It's
hear him
not gonna go
scream,
well. Yeah.
off black. Also, like Reanimator, cuts to black and you hear a scream before we go into
Yeah.
credits. That's
But
a,
you're skipping one of my favorite parts.
which one?
I love a situation. Please, everyone, please don't take this as a sexual thing. I love a situation where someone full on makes out with somebody who's like bloodied and
Oh yeah.
zombified like that. That is the weirdest, most fun thing to watch because like he leans in full on, like he is down to fuck his zombie wife.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
like her
100%.
eye is gushing like some sort of weird pus, and he's like, "Come here, girl. Like, let's get it in the kitchen. We ain't got no kids."
We're
Like,
child free now.
yeah, like, and yeah, he just goes for it. And yeah, she picks up that knife real quick. Also, rookie move. This is your second, no, third zombie encounter. Hide the knives. Come
Yeah.
on.
At least
Yeah,
put those
so I
little
couldn't let you.
rubber tips on there or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
couldn't let you pass that part. And another thing that I love too is when I don't remember if it's Rachel that discovers Judd's body or if it's Lewis, but Judd's body, he's like completely missing his like chin and that part
Hmm.
of his jaw. Like little boy went back for seconds and was like, just right on that chin. It's so gross. This is
I
my
love
sound
it.
effects episode, everyone.
Brings us to the end of this movie. Do we have anything
Hmm.
else to touch base on so far with the story of Pet Cemetery?
I have one other thing.
Go for it.
Little Gage also puts up a really good fight against his grown ass man dad.
Yeah.
I'm like, does he have super strength?
Well, it's a
Because
demon
it's a
in that little.
struggle.
It is not Gage in that body. It is some malevolent demonic force. So I would say he's probably got a little more muscle there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little hard to believe. Like you'd be able to just throw that baby to the ground. Um yeah, I just had to bring that up because I thought his super strength was quite impressive.
Well, gosh, that brings us to the end of our movie. Pretty exciting stuff. Now, let's take ourselves into our next segment here. Taglines. So Natalie, tell me what do we got tagline wise?
All right. I actually was expecting more taglines for this movie. There's five. And of course, because it's a Stephen King movie, They always have to sing his praises in at least one tagline. So we've got iconic terror from the number one best-selling writer, but not his name.
Sure.
Thumbs up?
Yeah, thumb sideways.
I'm gonna give it a thumb sideways. I'm gonna assume that the movie poster says Stephen King's Pet Cemetery, and then your tagline says iconic terror from the number one best-selling writer.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. Let's see if you can understand this one. Don't forget to put out the cat before the cat puts out you.
I like it, but like I said, I disagree with outdoor cats. So no, don't put the cat out. No, the cat stays in, so the cat theoretically would never put you out in
Oh,
return.
I
So
thought they might kill the cat, but what you're saying makes way more sense.
yeah, so thumbs sideways again for this one.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, here we go. This one's wordy. A magical place where a child's best friend can come back and live forever as an adult's worst nightmare. And if it works for animals, dot, dot, dot.
That is too much.
Right? And
What is
as
going
an
on?
adult's worst nightmare is in parentheses.
Okay, I'm
I
good.
don't think
Yeah,
I've ever seen that one. So
thumbs down. Next.
the
Yeah.
last two are good. The last two are really good. And I think we know one of them. Sometimes dead is better.
Yeah, I like that
That
because
one's
it
good.
also pulls from the movie too. I love it. Thumbs up.
Yes. That's a good one. I would give that two thumbs up. Last one. A pet isn't just for life. I like that one too.
Yeah, that's good too. Thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for saving the best ones for last. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I put them in a specific order
Hmm.
that time. Yeah. Those are your
So
taglines.
yeah, I like them. So
All right.
let's wrap this up. Let's pop into some boo scores. I never remember. Am I going first or are you?
You can go first on this one. I want to see if you can sway my score today.
This movie, generally, I think it's got like a 50-ish% on Rotten Tomatoes. It generally gets kind of lower scores, but I did see from like, some more genre stuff like Fangoria and Bloody Disgusting, they generally give it more positive reviews. Um, this movie is
If y'all can see
pretty,
the face that he's making, I can't imagine that this has a high boo count.
I think it does a lot of things well. I mean, yeah, of course, everyone's stupid and the plot generally doesn't make sense, but I mean, you love a good kid death. You
Hmm.
love Fred Gwynn. All these are just racking up booze and half booze. Um, I love, hey, my love to church, it's a great little cat that
Oh,
wasn't
he
that
is
bad when it
great.
came back.
The good,
Um,
good cat actor.
Weird whole situation with Zelda. Didn't get any of that, what the whole situation was about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think this movie is generally pretty enjoyable. I do think that, like, yes, it's pretty silly. I think it was kind of effective. I liked at first the parts with Victor. That first dream with Victor, I thought was pretty effective and pretty creepy.
It was very creepy.
And
Yeah, we didn't really touch on that. I think that first dream of him was actually really scary. And then for some reason we decided to make him like so comedic afterwards.
yeah, so I don't know. I think this movie's pretty good. I mean, of course, I'd recommend it. I'd recommend it to everybody. I think it's pretty good. I barely remember. I watched the remake in 2019.
I did
You remember
too. Did
that?
we watch that together?
We may have, but it was, I'm sure it's fine, but I'm sure it's whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna say three. This has got three boos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you got?
Again, to double tap on Love Child Death and Child Zombie. That's also
Yeah.
extra fun. And I think overall, this story is really strong. Like, I like the story. I almost wonder if I would like the book better than this movie. Probably will never find out, to be honest. But I I really like the story. Like, if you were to just like tell it to me as if it was in a book, I probably would like it more. Maybe I should
Like
just
an
read
au-
it.
It's called an audiobook.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot that audiobooks exist. Okay. So maybe an audiobook would be great. Um, so I really like the story. I will say it loses at least half a boo for me because it's just not quite campy enough. It's like right on the cusp where I'm like, I think they're trying to be serious and it's not quite landing. So I'm going to give it a 2.5,
Okay.
but I did find it very entertaining this watch.
Yeah, me too. So, well, dang y'all. If anyone disagrees with this, please let us know. That's
Yeah, if
fine.
you're a diehard.
Yeah, we're okay. But I feel like we're pretty, straight down the middle, generally
Mhm.
edging on positive, I would think, right? So, yeah. Anything else you got about Pet Cemetery?
One more thing. I
Sure.
think this would be a fun movie to watch like with a group of people
Hmm.
because of like the silliness and like weirdness of it. I think it would be fun to like watch with people, not like necessarily on your own. When I was watching it by myself, I was like, like, just kind of laughing at children suffering and uh felt like an asshole doing that by myself. So find some other people that like to watch children suffer on screen.
There you go. All right, everybody. Take care. Appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out through February with us. Really excited for what's coming up next month.
Hmm.
All right. Take care. Three, two, one, ghost.
Thanks for listening to our episode on Pet Cemetery. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and leave us a review on whichever platform you listen to podcasts. Any and all support is appreciated. You can find us on Instagram at 321GhostPod and give us a follow to see what we have coming up. We're very active on Instagram and would love to hear from you. You can also shoot us an email to 321ghostpod@gmail.com to share any thoughts, suggest a movie you'd like to hear us chat about, or just send us a picture of your pets. Next week, we're hopping back into our Scream series with Scream 3. And spoiler alert, it's not the final act. Thanks again for listening, and remember, there hasn't been a successful resurrection or zombie incident yet, so cut that shit out. And keep an eye on your goddamn children. 3, 2, 1, ghost.